This is a VND, a variable ND filter used to block light so you can leave your aperture wide open.
We will build our own motorized VND by using a focus motor and a focus wheel. There are other more expensive options out there like the
Tilta Mirage matte box and the SmallRig matte box VND kit. The only downside is you need to pay around $500 US. I already have the parts that I can use for my motorized VND. I got here my magnetic VND, which I can just attach to my lens via this magnet here. A focus gearing that exactly fits over my VND to rotate it. Then I have my matte box, a base plate, where I can then attach a 50mm rod to the side, and most important, a focus motor to move then with a focus wheel the VND and to adjust it remotely. The good thing of having a magnetic VND is that it will rotate further also if it stops. It will just slide on top of the lens. So most importantly, make sure to use a magnetic VND. I also have here the DJI RS3 Pro with its focus motor, which we can then also use for a more advanced version for controlling the VND, just via the focus wheel here on the front. I got here a Dremel, a DIY tool that lets me cut off things, grind off things, so I can easily adjust the matte box so the focus motor can work on the focus gearing. So this is how the final setup should look like. We have on the front our VND, around there we have a focus gearing, then we have here the matte box. At the bottom we have the focus motor, which is attached to a 15mm rod, which is attached to a base plate. Here we have the focus wheel, so we can adjust the VND filter. So here we have the DJI RS3 Pro. We have already an attachment that comes with the gimbal. However, it is just so positioned that the focus motor cannot perfectly reach below the matte box to adjust the ND filter. So we have to find another way. So why will we cut now the hole at the bottom of the matte box? The reason for this is that the focus gearing anyway touches the bottom, and the bottom is very easy, and by using just a base plate, your focus motor is anyway at the bottom. So to make now the marking on the matte box where I need to cut, I'm using a cardboard. I place this cardboard in front of the VND, and here at the bottom I'm drawing then a line. So I have now here at the bottom my line. So now I'm measuring the thickness of the rotating part of the VND. So in my matte box I will measure then 3mm from the line I've painted in to the back. So as next we have to measure the thickness of the focus wheel. It is 7mm thick. So here at those approximate markings we're gonna then do our first cut. I would suggest you to go there forward in an iterative way and also to cut more like an eye slit kind of like. Here we have now our Dremel, we have the matte box with the markings, and we have a hoover. We are done with the whole of our matte box. We have to cut this focus gearing in half. So here I got a box cutter. Always make sure that you cut away from yourself and that you have enough light and concentration. Now I can just rip it easily apart. I think it's better to halve it because if it's too thick, it might turn a little bit to one side. So here we have the ND filter, focus ring. So I added the focus motor here at the bottom and it touches the focus gearing. And now I add my focus wheel on the side. And here I have the ND filter. And now let's have a look. As you can see, it rotates. We have to cut it a little bit thinner. Here we have it, our very thin focus gearing. We put the ND filter facing downwards, then we put it over the sides. We have here now focus wheel, we have here the focus gearing, we have the hole for the focus motor, and we have the gearing around the ND filter. And as you can see, I can adjust the ND filter. And now as you can see, it gets brighter and darker. So I can have like my handheld setup, and whenever I film I can say, okay, now I need a little bit more, a little bit less brightness. I could also like attach the wheel somewhere else because you don't need it all the time, but then when you need it, you just adjust it here instead of like fiddling around here in the front. We have here the DJI RS3 Pro. With the DJI RS3 Pro, we have to attach the focus motor on the smaller rod. Here we have the SmallRig adapter rod, which goes from 15mm to 10mm. counterweight attachment for the main base plate, and we're using also from SmallRig a rod holder. So we will attach the rod holder to the SmallRig clamp for the gimbal. I have the mount for the DJI base plate and I have the rod holder, and they're both attached just with 2 simple screws. I put the wheel mount on the right so it doesn't disturb the lock on the left. Now we can put in the rod on the right. Now we take the camera, put it on top. Then we take our focus motor and put the focus motor on the rod. And we put the focus motor through the slit. So I can turn this here a little bit to test it, and it works. It rotates the ND filter. Now we have to balance it as usual. Then we can turn on the gimbal. The gimbal rotates the focus wheel. And you can see now, as I turn now the wheel of the gimbal, the ND filter adjusts. Now I adjust the filter, and you can see it gets bright and it gets dark. This feature does not even have the commercial matte boxes with the motor built in. So here you can really use the DJI focus wheel. You have a small setup, you don't need any separate focus wheel, and it doesn't cost you much.